What if the answer to your most desperate prayer came from the darkest place imaginable? What if saving the ones you love meant losing your very soul? This is the story of Pastor Eli, a man who learned that some miracles carry a price too terrible to pay. Deep in the heart of rural countryside sits Yumuoka, a village that once thrived with life and laughter. But those days are long gone. For months now, the sun has beaten down mercilessly on cracked, barren earth. The crops that once fed hundreds now lie withered and brown, turning to dust beneath the feet of desperate farmers. The river that gave Yumuoka its life has shrunk to nothing more than a trickle of mud and stones. But the worst part is not the hunger. It is the children. One by one, they fall sick with a mysterious illness that no medicine can cure. Their small bodies burn with fever as their parents watch helplessly. Every week another funeral, every week more tears. The village is dying and everyone knows it. Pastor Eli leads this suffering community. He is a good man, devoted to his faith and his people. Every single night, he kneels in his small wooden church and prays until his knees ache and his voice grows hoarse. He begs God to send rain, to heal the children, to save Yumuoka from extinction. But the heavens remain silent, the drought continues, the children keep dying. The weight of failure crushes him. He can see the doubt growing in his congregation's eyes. They still come to church, but their faith is flickering like candles in a storm. Pastor Eli feels like he is losing everything, his people, his purpose, maybe even his God. Then one evening, as Pastor Eli sits alone in the empty church, an old woman approaches him. Her name is Mama Nkuru, and she has lived in Yumuoka longer than anyone can remember. Her face is a map of wrinkles, and her eyes hold secrets that make people uncomfortable. She has never been particularly religious, rarely attending services. Mama Nkuru speaks in a whisper that somehow fills the entire church. She tells Pastor Eli that while his God may be silent, there are other powers that listen. Deep in the forest past where the village children are allowed to play, there stands an ancient shrine. It was built long before Christianity came to these lands, back when people worshipped different gods. The elders forbade anyone from going there, calling it cursed and evil. But Mama Nkuru says this shrine has power, real power. It answers prayers when nothing else will. However, she warns him with eyes that gleam in the candlelight. The shrine never gives anything without taking something in return. Everything has a price. Pastor Eli tells her to leave. He says he will never turn to such darkness. But that very night another child dies, a little girl named Kioma, only 6 years old. Pastor Eli holds her grieving mother as she screams and weeps. He watches the father's face turn hollow with despair. And something inside the pastor breaks. At midnight, Pastor Eli takes a lantern and walks into the forest. He tells himself he is just going to look, just to see if the shrine even exists. But deep down he knows the truth. He is going to beg for help no matter where it comes from. The forest is darker than he imagined. Trees twist overhead like grasping fingers blocking out the moon and stars. Strange sounds echo through the darkness, animals he cannot identify. His lantern barely pushes back the shadows. But he keeps walking, driven by desperation and the memory of Kioma's lifeless face. Then he sees it. The shrine sits in a small clearing, and it is the most disturbing thing Pastor Eli has ever seen. It is built from black clay that seems to absorb light rather than reflect it. Human and animal bones are woven into its structure, creating patterns that hurt to look at. Crude wooden carvings of faces cover every surface, their expressions frozen in eternal screams. Pastor Eli's every instinct screams at him to run. But he thinks of the dying children. He thinks of his village fading away. He falls to his knees in front of the shrine and begins to pray. Not to God this time, but to whatever dark thing lives in this place. He begs for rain to save the crops. He begs for healing for the sick children. He promises anything, everything, if only this power will save his people. Tears stream down his face as he pleads into the darkness. Then something changes. The flame in his lantern flickers and turns blue, casting eerie shadows across the clearing. The air grows cold despite the warm night, and Pastor Eli hears breathing, slow and deep, coming from everywhere and nowhere. The shrine has heard him, the shrine has accepted. Pastor Eli runs back to the village, his heart pounding with equal parts hope and terror. He does not sleep, he simply waits for dawn, wondering what he has done. Morning comes, and with it, a miracle. Dark clouds roll across the sky, clouds that have not been seen in months. Then the rain begins. Not a gentle shower, but a torrential downpour that fills the dried river within hours. The villagers run outside, dancing and laughing, letting the water soak them completely. But the miracle does not stop there. In the houses where sick children lay dying, parents discover their sons and daughters sitting up in bed, completely healthy. The fever is gone. The color has returned to their cheeks. They ask for food, for water, for their toys. It is as if they were never sick at all. The village erupts in celebration. People praise God for finally answering their prayers. They lift Pastor Eli on their shoulders, calling him a blessed man, a true servant of the divine. He smiles and accepts their gratitude, but inside his stomach churns with unease. He knows the truth. He knows where this miracle really came from. Then just after midday, a mother's scream cuts through the celebration. She is standing in her yard, staring at her son who was healed just hours ago. The boy is playing in the bright sunlight, laughing and running. But beneath his feet there is nothing, no shadow. The sun shines directly on him, but he casts no shadow on the ground. Panic spreads like wildfire. Parents check their children. Farmers check their neighbors, and the horrible truth becomes clear. Every single person who was healed or saved by the miracle has no shadow. Men, women, and children walk in the sunlight, but they cast no darkness. It is as if part of them has been erased from existence. Pastor Eli's blood runs cold. He knows immediately what has happened. He races back into the forest, back to that terrible shrine. He has to fix this. He has to undo what he has done. At the shrine, he demands answers. He shouts into the darkness, asking what has been done to his people. And this time the entity responds. Its voice comes through the rustling of leaves, through the creaking of branches, ancient and cold. It explains that a shadow is not just darkness on the ground. A shadow is the anchor of the human soul to the physical world. By taking the shadows, the entity has claimed the souls of everyone who was saved. They will live, yes, but when they die, their souls belong to the darkness forever. Pastor Eli falls to his knees, overwhelmed by what he has done. In trying to save his people, he has damned them. But he refuses to accept this. He takes his lantern and smashes it against the shrine. The oil spreads across the black clay and bones. He lights it with trembling hands. The shrine burns with flames that are not quite the right color. The entity screams through the forest, a sound that sends birds fleeing for miles. Pastor Eli watches until the shrine is nothing but ash and charred bone. Surely, surely this will break the curse. He returns to the village at dawn. The first rays of sunlight break over the horizon. And there, miracle of miracles, the children's shadows have returned. Parents weep with joy, holding their little ones close. The curse is broken. The village is saved. Pastor Eli walks slowly to his church, exhausted but relieved. He has paid the price. He has fixed his mistake. As he steps into the sunlight streaming through the church windows, he looks down at the floor. And his heart stops. Where his shadow should be, there is only empty ground. The sun shines on him, but he casts no darkness. By destroying the shrine, someone had to pay the final debt. The entity took what it was owed.